We do have a ton to get through in this episode.
Common sense is finally prevailing.
There was controversy.
It's the podcast of decision. Podcast of decision. Nothing good rhymes with decision. Podcast of decision.
Hello and welcome to the Doctor Who show for January 2025. I'm Dave.
I'm Mark.
I'm Richard.
And once again, it's January, so Rob Irwin is presenting the Australian I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And he's off in the jungle. So I'm joined by our gin and tonic partners, Mark and Richard. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us and Happy New Year to all of you and your listeners.
Yes, thanks for having us back on.
Yes, no, we've been mucking around in Doctor Who fandom for a few decades now.
Yep.
And that time frame was brought home to me this week. Richard, congratulations. I believe you now have an adult son at home.
I do have an adult son. That's come as a real shock. So those 18 years have gone really quickly.
Well done, Grandad.
Thank you.
Yes, we are all getting older, but thank you for joining us. Our topic this month is, of course, a podcast of decision. So
Yes.
hopefully we'll have some good fun and banter when we do that. But as always, we'll start with the news. And the first piece comes from you, Mark.
Yeah, look, this news when it hit the airwaves early in January was exciting to all of Doctor Who fandom, actually, was that Tom Baker has been recognised with a long overdue MBE.
Tom Baker, MBE, yes.
Yeah, brilliant. So, yeah. So I think it aligns with his 50th anniversary on
Does,
Robot, I
on
think.
just after the 28th of December is the first episode of Robot.
God.
50 years.
Yes. And if you're in Australia, that means
It was an annual event.
yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, it's a brilliant recognition of the great man and the impact he had on a lot of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Rob and I were discussing this when it was announced, and all of those rumours and stories about, Tom's been offered a knighthood and an MB or whatever, but he turned it down. Clearly not the case.
But I'm going to counteract that a little bit, Dave. I reckon he was probably offered in the past. But Big Finish where he said no. And all of a sudden, do you know what? I'm nearly 100. I'm going to take it this time and get my little bit of medal on the chest. So,
Well, so it was Big Finish that got him over the line, was it?
I think it was, actually. I think the vast number of box sets have obviously pumped up his IMDb page. So,
Yes, the Honours Committee are known to be big Finish fans, so that's
we
clearly
love,
what
we love FanWag. Yeah, so it's absolutely brilliant. Tom's been recognised.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, Tom, I think for many generations, here particularly, but even in the UK, he is the face of Doctor Who.
Oh, he
Correct.
is the Doctor. Yes,
Yeah.
he is. As
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned, he is.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he did that scene in Day of the Doctor, and it's still, to this day, an amazing scene. And just to see him back doing that role. I don't know what character he was playing. However, I thought he was great in it. So,
I do remember in the cinema I was in,
Yeah.
you suddenly see all these 40-year-old fanboys.
There was an audible gasp.
Well, there
An
was.
audible
When you heard
gasp,
the
yeah.
voice,
Oh,
there
yeah.
was. It was like, but
Yeah.
it was just got
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, it was brilliant. But, it's a fantastic recognition for him. It's that national treasure, really, isn't it? Or a universal treasure.
Oh, very good.
Excellent. The next piece of news is a bit more contemporaneous, and that is we have some updates from Russell T Davies on the war between the land and the sea. Now, I'll read you a couple of quotes. Doctor Who boss Russell T Davies has billed an upcoming spin-off as one of the greatest shows of his entire career, but has warned it will be a little while before it makes it to our screens. Now, I will say that RTD's best work is very, very good. I think something like Cucumber, A Very English Scandal.
It's a Sin was particularly good.
It's a Sin, probably the best thing I've seen him done. That was very, very good.
It was very good.
Some of his stuff's not as good, but
No.
let's hope it reaches the standard that he is billing it for. The article goes on to say, when a fearsome and ancient species emerges from the ocean, dramatically revealing themselves to humanity, an international crisis is triggered. With the entire population at risk, units step into action as the land and the sea wage war, presumably using all the sets that have been amortised across from the specials in Doctor Who.
I think they said the ones they stored away for Warriors of the Deep.
That's actually what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Still with the Burka costume, just
I'm ready.
So, look, I would say I'm jumping out of my skin to see this, but I'm definitely curious to see what they do with it.
Yeah, look, I'm intrigued. Look, I'll certainly have a look at it. What about you, Marcus? Does this one
look,
tempt you back?
No, but it'd be interesting to see what McTighe does with it, actually, because it'll be obviously a different producer running it, so, and how much he can bring to it, as opposed to the usual Doctor Who treadmill. I think that'd be the interesting thing for me to say. Look, Do you know what? I'm actually going to say stay tuned.
And Pete McTighe did obviously come through Sydney fandom, so he like us, grew up on endless repeats of the Pertwee and Tom years. So
Particularly season 12.
particularly season 12. So maybe that's going to be the sort of oeuvre that...
I hope so.
reflects
Yeah,
itself through.
I hope so. Yeah.
Our final bit of news is from you, Richard, and it's an Australian piece of news.
It is, and it is an Australian piece of news. It is that the original Doctor Who theme, as written by Australian Ron Grainer, has been selected as one of the 2024 Sounds of Australia. So that's added to the National Film and Sound Archive Registry.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And what were the other things on that list?
Well, it's one of 10.
Yeah.
I won't go through the whole article because
No,
we'll put a link in the show notes. But and look, I'm not going to read the whole 10. But some of the highlights placed in the registry this year. There is the Speaking Clock, which dates to 1954. Mm-hmm. There is the original Victoria Bitter ad, voiced by John Million.
Yep.
Which is from the late 60s.
In fact, I've got it now.
Yeah, they were great ads.
Yeah.
The song Chains by Tina Arena.
Yeah, that's
I'd probably rather something like Forgotten Years or...
US Forces.
Yeah, or Great Southern
They're
Land
not going
or
to
something.
Great Southern Land or Sounds of Zen by Ganga Janga. It's a great tune, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And The Last Call of the Christmas Island Pipistrel in 2009. I'm guessing that might be extinct, perhaps.
So a very appropriate honour for the Australian Ron Grainer.
Yep.
Yes.
And I've always reflected that when you go back and watch An Unearthly Child, how much of the show arrives ready-made. The theme, the opening title graphics, the console room, just so many of those things that we take for granted were there right at the first moment, and particularly the theme, that's really quite incredible.
Yeah.
It's sublime, that theme, especially how it was made. You know, like, obviously, you know, you've got the Ron Grainer building blocks, and you've got that wonderful Delia Derbyshire arrangement on top of it with just tape loops. There was no instruments on that.
No, that's right.
It's absolutely phenomenal.
She sat and cut up all the little bits of tape and whatever.
You know, I don't think it would have sounded as good as what, you know, on piano or something like that. So yeah, it's brilliant.
No, I think didn't he say afterwards actually that sounded completely different to what he envisaged.
Yeah. So but it's as Dave said, it was absolutely one of those many pieces of I suppose foundations that made the show a success. So yeah, that's great. That's great news. That's really good. Yeah,
it is. So, on to short topics. We've got one each, and the first is from me. Now, a few days ago, I was feeling particularly grumpy, and I thought, it's time for me to go and just unleash my top 10 worst stories onto the internet.
Oh, here we go.
Which I did, but it actually ended up prompting some interesting discussions amongst our listeners. So, I'm going to give you the top 10, get your thoughts, then just mention a couple of things that our listeners
There's
mentioned.
quite a few new series ones I see in there, Dave, but yeah, go on.
Probably not as many as mine, but anyway, look.
So my top 10 least favourite stories from 10 to 1. Number 10, Mind Warp. Number 9, Creature from the Pit. Number 8, The Rings of Tedium. Sorry, Avatar. Number 7, The Mutants.
Oh, what?
Number 6, The Zygon Inversion.
Yeah.
Number 5, Underworld. Number 4, Let's Kill Hitler.
Oh, God, yeah.
Number 3, The Rebel Flesh, The Almost People. Number 2, Twice Upon a Time.
Yes. It's,
And number 1, Dark Water, Death in Heaven.
Yes.
Any there that you would disagree with or you think are particularly unfair?
Considering I know you're a really big Pertwee fan, I thought you might have found something other than the Mutants.
Monster
but-
Peladon's worse than the Mutants, I think.
So a number of people on social media actually made that same point about the Mutants and what about the Monster Peladon. And the Monster Peladon is the other, I think, Pertwee fail. I think both of them are two fails from the Pertwee era, but at least the Monster Peladon has some Ice Warriors running around for the second half. You know, that's something. But I just think the Mutants is a story where nothing comes together. The script, the acting, the sets, the special effects. It's just nothing quite works. And it just all doesn't come off.
I could say the same thing exactly for Monster Peladon.
Look, if I was doing a top 20, Monster would be in there.
Yeah.
But that was it. One comment that a number of listeners made was that there's nothing in there from the Chibnall era, which surprised them. And I did reflect on this, and there's a lot of the Chibnall era that I quite like, but there's a lot of the Chibnall era I just find dull.
Mostly harmless.
It's just for harmless, you know, it's not particularly engaging, but I'm not really aggrieved by it in the way that I am by something like the portrayal of the First Doctor in Twice Upon a Time. Some of the tangents that they go down in Death in Heaven particularly.
Oh, yeah.
Which I actually find really problematic.
And I think, with Death in Heaven, I think we've all said that, we'd rather watch the Twin Dilemma than that. And I think with that Death in Heaven, it was all, again, like Twice Upon a Time, they're trying to be respectful to a character, but they completely just get it wrong. Like they put they turn the Brigadier into the Iron Patriot, and then you've got the First Doctor I don't know from what universe, because it sounds nothing like how it's just awful. It's just awful. It's like, you know, they said, we just came up with that because they had to put something on. I think you'd rather put the test card on than that story. I thought it was absolutely awful. And I saw it in the cinema.
I mean, looking down... Sorry, you saw it in the cinema?
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Because my wife was shopping. I said, what am I going to do? So I went and saw it in the cinema with 3 other people, and I thought, what the hell is this?
Wow.
Yeah, it was awful. Anyway.
I mean, looking down the list, and we've discussed Let's Kill Hitler before, that actually finished me with Doctor Who that year. I remember when I was watching that season, I was just, look, I can't do this. I came back later and sort of sat through the rest of it, but Yeah, look, some of those things, Underworld is definitely awful.
And Mind Warp's one where there's just this really nasty vibe that goes through the whole thing. And particularly when I watched it again recently, that moment where Perry says, Doctor, I'm scared, I don't want to be here, let's go home.
Yeah.
And he just dismisses it, whatever. Yeah. And then you work through just all this nasty stuff that happens.
Yeah.
And even though some of it is, the Matrix is lying or whatever, it's still unpleasant to watch. And it ends with the death of Perry, whether allegedly, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a very unpleasant story that I don't think works for Doctor Who, and which is a shame because it looks fantastic.
The
cast is fantastic,
and the music's great as well.
The production's fantastic.
Many years ago, I did a top 5 underrated Doctor Who stories on 42 to Doomsday. I actually put Mind Warp in the underrated bucket.
Right.
Now, having said that and watched it recently, I'm going, was I smoking at the time? Because you're absolutely right. The tone is just awful, and it's just not it's not very pleasant watching. And despite having the positives you just said, great cast and everything like that, but it's not. It's like Eric Saywood just goes. He's just almost like, I know Philip Martin's written it, but he's just channeling all this anger and bile and everything through it. It's just it's not pleasant.
Creature from the Pit. I know you're really down on Creature from the Pit, and because of the portrayal of Torvin and his people.
Yeah.
I'd almost been inclined to go Nightmare of Eden over that, because I think Nightmare of Eden is probably, because I think that's the bit Tom clearly does not give a rat's during Nightmare of Eden. He is very much in full on I am Tom mode.
Well, to the point that he got the director to walk.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah, that's right.
So that you could possibly argue that one, but
End of Time I'd add in there. I thought it was absolutely woeful. In fact, most of mine would be mainly New Who, I think.
Yeah, so look, I put this out on social media, and I was sort of almost bracing for this is a really negative thing to do, but there's actually some quite interesting engagement, and a few people wrote their own lists, some of which I agreed with, some of which I didn't, and hey, my view's always been that if you rank something from 1 to the end, something's got to come last.
Exactly.
So, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
So did you pick that just going through and off your own bat, or did you use one of those decision-making ones where you had to...
No, I just went through and made it to fill some time.
But given your mood on the day, so if you were less grumpy, would that change?
Probably. Yeah. Although there's a few. I mean, I think it's going to take a lot to displace Death in Heaven.
You can't. That's rock solid. That's locked in, mate. Forget it.
Yeah. Twice Upon a Time, The Rebel Flesh. Let's kill. I think that 4's a pretty solid 4. These stories I really didn't enjoy.
End of Time.
And then look, you're right. On a different day it could be Monster Pelt and not the mutants.
Yeah.
On a different day, you're right. Creature from the Pit could escape. But that's where I was on the day.
Creature from the Pit's got Catweasel in it, so
yes.
And moving on.
Something that's been going around in Doctor Who fandom for quite a while, but we haven't really discussed a lot on the Doctor Who show, Richard, and you wanted to bring up here and now.
Yes, no, we did actually have a talk about this on the 42 to Doomsday Christmas extravaganza.
Oh, yes.
Yes. We did sort of, when we were discussing tonight, think maybe we could have a slightly more serious conversation perhaps about them than picking them as Fan Wank of the Year.
So for those listeners who aren't aware of what Ian Levine's been doing, he's, I understand, basically taking AI generators, feeding them telesnaps and various other bits of information, and the soundtrack, and getting them to basically write or create the images for an episode.
More or less. I mean, look, they do create the models and then they insert them into the backgrounds and obviously sync them up to the soundtrack and whatever. They are probably a step on from the recons that were being done in the 1990s and early 2000s.
Loose cannon ones,
loose cannon, there were some prime ones. Bruce Robinson here in Australia. He did quite a few of the early ones, so like Bruce, if you're listening.
Yep.
Yeah, so in some ways, look, they are just a step further forward than that.
They have been controversial, though.
They have been controversial. Look, the project, I think, is now about 78 or 79 episodes in.
Yes.
There are something only, like, I think one of his more recent posts, I think there is something only about 21 episodes.
I think he's only got one Hartnell left or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So, look, I've dipped into a few. I certainly haven't paid the money to be on the private channel that gets first viewings.
No,
and the rest
likewise.
of it. But I've watched some of the ones that Ian Levine's put up on YouTube. I found that something like The Massacre was actually quite useful. Because, look, I'm a big fan of The Massacre. I think it's a really good script.
Yeah.
One of the problems of it existing in audio only is that most of the cast are men aged about 40 speaking in RP accents. So when you've got 3 or 4 of those characters all sitting around the council table, it's sometimes hard to quite work out which character's which and who's having a conversation with who. So actually seeing even the sort of the rough AI graphics of that gives a bit more context to work out how it's all going, and that's quite good. But where there's a lot more action involved, or where it's a lot more spacey, if you want to put it another way, the AI just can't quite deal with it. It's actually quite jarring to watch.
It is. I guess the positive from that would be is once you've got the basic models and setup done, you can continually come back and retweak and retweak and retweak and retweak. It is very difficult because a lot of the stories they've attempted, obviously there is very little visual material or visual reference material. Dave and I were at an event here in Melbourne for the Sirens of Audio, and hello to Phil and Dwayne if you're listening, where they did screen part 3 of The Web of Fear, which I think was the one that had just been released.
Yes.
I think at the time Fraser was here in Melbourne. Being diplomatic, I would say there were some quite good little sequences in it, and for probably 10-15 seconds you're like, actually this isn't bad, the movement's pretty good and they sort of look like okay. The problem is it would then be immediately followed by a not so good 15 to 20 seconds where you would just drop straight back out of the story again because the movement's really clunky or the model just looks poor. They still have that same issue that a lot of the recons had where once they get an establishing model, they just keep coming back to it.
Cycling it back, yeah.
Yep, every time the Doctor's on screen, it's the same model of the Doctor,
Yeah.
or they flick between one or two. The guest who watched it with us was diplomatic, shall we say, about what he just watched. I think would be a good way to put it.
Yes, I think that's fair. Look, it's an interesting experiment. I don't think they're quite there yet, but you're right. I mean, given how fast AI has developed, give it 2-3 years, this actually could be a way to turn telesnaps into a watchable recreation.
But potentially, yes.
Yeah.
And look, I will say on the positive side, there has been, looking at some of the early ones and looking, I think the most recent one that's been shared publicly is part 1 of the Macra Terra. There is a definite improvement between some of the early ones and what's being produced now.
Oh, some of the very early ones were just, the characters were indistinguishable from...
Absolutely.
Oh, they were.
Yeah. Having said that, look, there was some howls of derisive laughter, to quote Monty Python, when some of the models, particularly the one of Ben in his costume from Macro Terror was put up.
With Lego bricks on his chest.
Yes.
Yeah, and the shorts.
Yes. That's a good way of putting it,
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
Yes. The Warwick Kappa shorts.
Yes, that's what I said, yes. Look, I haven't watched one in its entirety because, like you, I find it too
Jarring.
However, I do know somebody sat down and watched The Savages and said that was really good. So I think I will go and actually watch one and just see what it's like. And probably be interested to contrast it with the animation that's going to come out as well. Because it's a bit, I suppose it is unfair to compare them. However,
Look,
it'd be interesting to see how they do it.
I was going to say, I'm actually not a really big fan of most of the animations. I think when they're well done, they are really good. Like, I think the Moonbase.
Yeah,
I watched that not
brilliant.
long ago, and that is
Yeah.
a great animation.
Yes.
Web of Fear, not so.
No, Web of Fear, not so much. And some of the ones they're doing now, I must admit, they're a little clunky.
Yeah, and look, there's always that decision that they've had to make about, do they do it as faithfully to what was broadcast as possible, or do they embellish? And the Macro Terror is one where they did choose to embellish. There's lots of model work and macro work that just is not remotely reflective of what would actually be broadcast on screen.
Yeah.
Now, look, that's not the decision I would have made. I prefer accuracy, but I know there are a lot of fans who say, well, if I'm going to watch this as a recreation, make it as good as you can make it. And that's... I understand that. I don't resent that. But maybe the AIs will eventually become a way of having that very accurate, or as accurate as we can see, sort of thing.
Dude, is the approach of just cranking out as many as you can the right approach, do you guys think? Or would it have been better to have maybe picked 1 or 2 stories, and probably stories with a lot of visual material that you could draw on, and really just make those as probably as seamless as possible.
Yeah,
and
I
then,
think less is more.
Because I think one aspect of this that doesn't always get talked about is a lot of these releases are accompanied by requests to assist with funding to work on the next batch.
Yeah.
And I would have thought maybe if you needed funding or you wanted to try and secure people's money for these, is maybe showcase what you can do with one or two really top shelf releases. Maybe that might might make the request. People might be a little more receptive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much content being thrown out now by Ian that
Yeah.
people just can't consume it.
No.
It's like Big Finish. You know, you're throwing out so much content that people just don't buy a lot of it, right?
No, well, that's right.
Yeah, so...
But if everybody's paying something for something, there's enough money coming in to keep the
Well,
project going.
somebody must be buying those Adam Adamant audios, Mark, but...
Thank you for keeping the range going. Thank you for your service. But I think you're absolutely right, though. I think less is more, and if they actually said, look, work on the ones which got a lot of visual material, and get them right, so I don't know who's quality assuring these things, but you probably need to sort of expand it a little bit and get, just focus on the ones that they can do, get them really well, and then say, hey, for the next one, like to do this and do this and do this. Or at the
But then
moment,
give it a year and see what round 2 looks like, which could be
Correct.
another
Exactly.
one.
Yeah, exactly right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I thought that was an interesting thing maybe to have a bit of a talk about, because, as I said, we probably weren't all that positive about them on
No,
42
you weren't
Doomsday.
actually. No, I did sort of...
I wasn't.
No. But maybe we actually should all of us sit down and watch a different one.
Maybe we could do that for Gin and Tardis, Mark.
No, it's not. But we can watch it separately offline and come back and say, look, I'm going to take the Savage and do something else, and we'll come back and...
Oh, Mark, money where your mouth is. Gin and Tardis one.
Anyway,
Yeah.
topic.
For listeners who are interested, they are a number available on YouTube. Just
Yes.
search for Ian Levine AI, and I'm sure you'll find them.
Yep.
Yep.
Our last short topic is one from Mark.
Yes,
and
hello.
This was something that went around
Oh.
our chat group that I think prompted a bit of a discussion that we might as well have with the mic on it, Mark. So please.
Yeah, so basically, Doctor Who hardback books have been escalating in value for a while, and a lot of people are now collecting them more, and obviously driving prices up. But it looked like it was... I think what's happened is some fan has died or passed on or something. Something's happened, and they've donated all their hardbacks, or some of the family members donated all their hardbacks to a charity. And these books are in mint condition, non-library, just superb condition. So they've basically put them on the interwebs, on the eBays. And this one here, the Claws of Axos, which was the first print hardback, and also had Uncle Terrence's signature in it.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't
As
know
a,
that.
yeah, as a special bonus, went for, there was an eBay obviously,
Yep.
eBay auction, 2,177 quid.
Whoa.
You know what I mean?
That's a lot of money for a book.
That is a lot of money for the book. Now I know this particular title though is very rare and
It
very
is.
hard to find.
It is.
And,
So I
yeah.
believe only 3,000 printed, of which most went to libraries.
Yeah,
Correct.
look, hardbacks, as a general rule, they are kind of grail items if you're
Yeah.
interested in collecting books, because, yes, most of them, they were fairly low print run, and most of them went to libraries. Now, when I was a kid, my mum worked in a library, and I did actually get quite a few ex-library hardbacks when they were chucked out. They're long gone now, Mark, so stop looking at me like that. But the market, or the value in the market, obviously, is in the ones that didn't go to libraries and don't have stamps and contact and whatever all over
Correct.
them. Now, this book wasn't in what you would call mint condition. It was in very good condition.
Oh, sorry, I thought it wasn't mint.
No,
Yeah,
if you look at the images, it does have some sort of foxing and staining
Oh, okay,
and stuff
sorry.
on, a little
Yep.
bit of extra. But it is still a very nice copy of the
Yep.
book, and I can sort of see if you're into that. You probably get a couple of bidders who really want it and are just going back and forth trying to try and
Got the Russian bots on it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Escalating it up.
So something I was thinking about after this happened is, obviously back in the day when we were all young and kicking around Victorian fandom, one of the big items at the Christmas party every year was the auction.
Yep.
Because that was the only chance people had to come along and offload for cash
Yeah.
stuff in their collection.
much.
And it would go for an hour and a half, 2 hours. The club would take 10% of everything that was made, so it was a good fundraiser for us.
Yep.
But that would be, if somebody had a copy of, say, Mind Warp to sell, it would go for a huge amount, because that might be the one copy that comes up in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
that's
now
right.
Australia actually is unusual, just to butt in, because we have talked about this previously. Australia is probably the one market where Mind Warp was really rare,
Yeah, it was.
because a lot of the local shops here didn't get it, whereas in overseas, At the time, it was an era when it was very difficult to import things overseas.
Yes.
And we do actually know someone who found a box of them in New Zealand, I think it was.
I think there was, yeah.
And did
Yeah.
quite well when he brought them in and sold them on. So,
Yes, but in those days, basically, unless you knew someone locally selling something, you couldn't
Yeah,
get it.
correct.
When you had the advent of eBay and similar type websites,
Yeah.
there was a bit of market sort of equalisation, as a lot of people were able to sell stuff you buy from people in other countries
Yep.
Yeah.
and all that sort of thing. I wonder whether we're going to start to get to a point now where scarcity starts to take over again.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these books are 30, 40, 50 years old.
Yep.
Yeah.
And more and more there are going to be collections that the owner throws them out, the owner dies and the relatives throw it out.
Yeah.
And there's going to be rare books that are just gone. And are we going to start to see some of these things becoming rarer and rarer
Yeah.
and those prices increasing again?
Yes.
but potentially, although I guess as the collectors maybe start to shuffle off this mortal coil, the market probably in some way starts to go with them.
Well, that's
Because-
exactly it, yeah.
Yeah, because you are probably also going to get to a point where people who are willing to pay £2,000 for something like that probably aren't there anymore.
Yeah, and that's an interesting question. How many people who are getting into the show now and are 20, in
Then-
20 years' time are going to be
They're
wanting,
not
I
gonna
want a
do
full
it.
set of targets?
Exactly right.
And hardback targets at that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. And I know somebody who basically spent, a couple of years building up a hardback collection, and I think it cost this person in the vicinity of about $30,000,
Oh, I'd say, and then some probably.
and some more as well.
Yeah,
And now,
probably.
and look, would I do that? No.
No.
But
No.
but I mean, I'd love to, because I think I love the books, and it's a shame that apparently they were going to do a patchwork. When they finished a complete history, they were going to move on and do the hardbacks. They were going to
Right.
redo them, and but apparently never took off. There's prototypes done and everything, which is a shame.
Right.
But it's 'cause
Okay.
I would have definitely gone on for that. But
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I started buying a few of the Virgin Benny Adventures, the ones that came
Yeah.
after
Oh, yeah.
they lost the license. And I bought the first dozen quite quickly and quite easily. And after that, they very quickly escalated. They were just prices I wasn't willing to pay for something that's really nice to have.
Lung Barrow, remember that? That's,
Yes, and you could, Lung Barrow and the Dying Days
The
was
Dying Days were
was
the
the EA
ones,
one.
Yeah. But I just really wish now, when I worked at the Target warehouse, when they had shelves full of the hardbacks.
Now that's Target, the retail company.
yeah, sorry, yes.
Not Target, the publishing
Yes, no,
company.
where,
Yes.
I was
Yes.
working in the back of the warehouse.
No, I can remember
Yeah.
rocking up to Target one day with Mum and just a whole shelf of
Yep.
hardbacks there, of which there was one book that we didn't have a copy of,
Yep.
which was the Twin Dilemma. So my one hardback over on the
There you
shelves
go. Yeah.
is the Twin Dilemma. But again, had we known, we would have just
Absolutely.
bought them all
They
up.
had so much shelving as full of this Target book. I don't know how they got them, got them shipped over, or how they came through, but obviously they came through. $5 for the hardbacks. They were selling out really well. I bought some for some of the Doctor Who fans because
Yep.
they had a Target discount card, and then lugging these books to the meetings and that sort of stuff. And I really wish now I bought them myself, wrapped them in plastic,
away.
and put them away,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't have to work ever again. But it is what it is. But look, if end of the day, if people want something that much, they'll pay. If they've got the money, they'll pay for it. So
Yeah, that's
good
right.
on them. You can't begrudge them. I was reading some of the commentary around it, afterwards, and going,
Look, if you can afford it
you know,
and it makes you happy, I guess...
it's capitalism. That's how it works,
Yeah,
mate.
yeah,
You know
that's
what I mean?
exactly right.
I would like to be able to spend $4,500 on a hardback.
Well, then again, you also have to
and
think
do like
about
close
it.
you can.
Given it was through eBay, you'd also have to pay the import. If you were here in Australia,
Yeah.
you'd also have to pay
GST.
the import GST or the GST or the import
Yeah.
tax on it.
Yeah.
Plus, you've got to freight it out here, and the freight on that was quite expensive. It was over £100 because I
Yeah.
think they were going to courier it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody's with a handcuffed briefcase.
Pretty much.
I would have flown
Walking
over and
through customs.
brought it back with me, no worries. But I think it's going to be interesting to see, as you said, that market when people start. There's going to get a point, like I read some people saying, "Well, I'm going to sell them when I want to retire." Now that's a very interesting concept because, as you said, the fans who want to buy them might not want to have them then. You know what I mean?
That's exactly
So
right.
yeah, it's
Because and look, we both know collectors who've got to
Yeah.
they get to around retirement age or a bit before, and they think, well, really, why am I lugging all this stuff around? I want to go overseas, or I want to downsize my house, or
Yeah.
I want to whatever. Now's time, and not just Doctor Who. Now's time to part company with some of this stuff.
never mind vinyl. No, yeah, but you're right though. You just look at it when you get to a certain age and go, "Why have I got all this stuff? I don't need it." You know what I mean? I'm happy with what I've got, and So there you go.
Fair enough. So that's our short topics. It's time to move on to the main topic, which is the podcast of Decision.
Ooh.
Now, it's been 2 years since we've done one of these.
Really?
It has. So I'll just go over the premise again for
So
you
does
listeners.
that mean some of the things in the bowl could be the same and we just won't remember? Or
It's very, very... That's very, very possible, because it would mean I probably forgot, so... I thought about it as well, but we'll get to that in a moment. So the premise is that the time-space visualizer that stores all of Doctor Who has reached capacity and needs to be emptied a bit. So we are going to draw 4 Doctor Who-related items out of the Bowl of Rassilon at a time, and we have to decide which of those we save from deletion.
so it's full even after Mark's deleted all the new series stuff.
Now, on this occasion, I did put out on X for any suggestions from our listeners to put in there. So
Yes.
some of you may find that your suggestions are in the Bowl of Rassilon. And I'll also add that each of us gets a joker to play. So if something we can't bear to be destroyed has not won that round, we can each save one item.
Excellent.
But once your joker's used, it is gone.
How many rounds are there?
There's 8 rounds.
Right.
Strap yourself in.
Yep.
We will start round 1. Mark, would you like to pick 4 items out of the Bowl of Rassilon?
Thank you very much. All right. Okay, so here we go. All right, so I'm going to read them out.
Yeah.
All Paul Darrow stories. Saving. All Sontaran stories.
Well, that's my joker. But
Peter
go on.
Howell and Blink.
Ooh, that's difficult.
That's actually really difficult. Is this from the listeners or from you?
Some of those are from the listeners, and some of them are
Wow.
just from the Bowl of Rassilon.
The Paul Darrow one will be Dave, but
Right.
oh my goodness.
So, Blink is a very good story.
it is.
Is it necessarily the best in that pile? I'm not sure.
No, I'm happy to purge it.
Well, okay. Well, if we go with the Paul Darrow stories, look, it means losing the Silurians if we let that go.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm okay
can
with
see
that.
him
But it also means keeping Time Lash. Now, look, I would watch Paul Darrow read the phone book, but look, Time Lash is probably not his greatest work.
It's entertaining work.
It's very
entertaining.
entertaining work. And as we've always said, he is absolutely right. Once he dies, the story, you can turn off.
You may as well have the end credits.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
useless, isn't it, after he's gone?
Now, when I see all Sontaran stories, my initial instinct is, oh, well, that's a great collection, but
It's actually
it's
not.
actually not.
No,
I mean,
you're
look,
absolutely right.
I think that the Time Warrior is probably my favourite Sontaran story.
Yeah, look, I'm very fond of the Sontaran experiment, but if it goes... Doesn't matter. I enjoy the Invasion of Time, but it's not great.
No.
And then you've got then you got the new series.
2 Doctors.
And then you got the one you can't talk about, or the Fixaton Sontaran.
Oh, no, actually,
Oh,
that means we can get rid of Strax. Yes.
Yes!
Oh, my, yes.
It's gone.
Done,
Strax
done,
gone. Yeah.
Done.
Comedy
really,
Sontaran burnt.
Look, I really like the Time Warrior. It's Sarah Jane's introduction story. I actually think Pertwee's pretty good in it, but if it means we lose Strax, and hopefully he'll take the rest of the Sex Fiend trio with him.
Farewell, my
Actually,
friends. Farewell forever. Yeah, absolutely. So now we've got 2 left. Peter Howell and all Paul Darrow stories. Now, Peter Howell, I would save. And I'll tell you why.
Ooh.
His Doctor Who theme in the 80s is still brilliant, right? His music he did during his time on the show is so identifiable.
But it's Silurians, Mark.
I know it's a Solar. I know Dave's having a conniption here. He's got to put that fist down, please, sir. Peter Howell, from a music, I like my music. Leisure Hive themes. The soundtrack is fantastic. 5 Doctors, 2 Doctors is actually a very good soundtrack as well. Planet of Fire. He's actually done some of my favourite soundtracks.
Yeah,
So
there's
for
some very
me,
good stuff.
I
there's
was
some
going to
really
say,
good
soundtrack's
soundtrack.
not immediately what leaps to mind when you think of 2 Doctors, so look, but
It's
go
actually
on.
really good. It's got some lovely
very good,
Spanish guitar playing. Yeah, and many, many more.
All right, well, are we ready to go to show of hands?
I agree with everything you said about Peter Howell, but I can't throw out the Silurians. So, I'm fond of Time Lash. I think the part 1's not too bad, and
Yep.
Paul Darrow's in it. So, look, I'm voting for the Paul Darrow stories.
Yes, I must admit that's where my vote's going. So,
Okay.
are you okay to let Peter Howell disappear into the abyss?
Or are we getting a round 1 Joker?
No, I'm conscious of the terror that is
Works
going to be
in the bowl?
Yeah, in the bowl. So I'm not going to use the Joker yet. So Paul Darrow, you are the great man is staying.
Excellent.
And Peter Howell, I'm so sorry, but you've got to go to the same museum as Kev McCulloch. Thank you, Dave.
4 more, please, Richard.
All right.
Dun, 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 dun.
Here's a bit of thinking music while you decide whether you want to come back tomorrow night. Hustle play. From the Bowl of Rassilon, we have. Actually, you need that sound effect with the
horn of Rassilon.
Yes. Okay. Ooh. All David Maloney stories.
You were really in a grumpy mood when you put these together, weren't you?
World Enough and Time and the Doctor Falls.
Oh, the only new series story I'd save.
I think there might be a joker coming at this round, and we keep
It would
going at
be.
this rate. Terror of the Vervoids, yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
I think
bye.
that's sorry, I think that's on the discard pile straight away. Season 25. Oh,
Well, this is a tougher round than the last one.
well, no, look, I must admit, if it was me, it'd be between the David Maloney stories and probably World Enough and Time and the Doctor Falls, I think.
Look, I really like Terror of the Vervoids. I think it's Colin's best performance. It's probably the Sixth Doctor story I enjoy the most. Is it as good as World Enough and Time, the Doctor Falls? No.
No, we'll get that rid of it now.
Season 25, Remembrance is a classic,
It is. And look, we've recently watched The Happiness Patrol.
and it's okay. Silver Nemesis is a mess,
It is.
and I want to enjoy Greatest Show. I can do what it's trying to do, but it just never clicks for me.
No, and as I said during the Gin and Tartarus, my main memory last time I watched Greatest Show was being bored by it. So,
Yeah, I
So
can't
I
say
think- I'm
season
sorry, I
25
think
as
that-
well.
Yeah, look, Season 25 might win other rounds, but...
It's a lovely box set, but
Yeah.
goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
So, David Maloney stories.
Crotons, War Games, Planet of the Daleks,
Genesis of the Daleks.
Genesis of the Daleks,
Deadly Assassin.
Deadly Assassin, Planet of Evil, underrated.
No, correctly rated. If anything, overrated.
Really?
yeah,
It's
I'm
not
not a
good.
massive fan of that either.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
sorry, Mark, you're on your own there. Yeah. So,
Oh yeah, I was going to say, and Blake 7, but
Yes.
we're not talking about that, are we? Yeah, no, we can't, because it's going to win.
Look, Well Enough in Time is staggeringly good. That is one that had me on the edge of my seat. I think that is a very rare example of the new series where
Gets it right.
not only got it right, but I was going to say the cliffhanger at the end of part one.
Yeah.
I was just no. I want to see this next.
Yeah,
I want to see
agree,
this now.
agree.
I want to see the next one.
Yeah.
I was really bored with it.
That is the only one I'd actually go back and watch because I enjoyed it so much.
But Deadly Assassin, Genesis, Wing Chang.
yeah.
Oh.
No, that's verboten now. So,
No, it's not. It's back in.
I think for quantity over quality,
it
I'm
kind of has to be
gonna
David
vote David
Maloney, I
Maloney.
think.
Well, I'm going to use my Joker because
Oh.
can you believe it?
On a new series.
What's wrong with me?
Oh, no.
What's wrong with me?
Who is this stranger?
I know. That was a perfect getting off point for me with Doctor Who.
Oh.
But no, I think that story, everything about that story was fantastic.
Okay.
And even Murray Gold's music was tolerable.
Well,
so
there you have it, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen. Mark is using his Joker to save a new series piece of Doctor Who. Who would have
Wonders will
thought it?
never cease.
what's going on? You saw me happy last month. What's going on? Like,
It turns out this is not Mark, it's an evil robot replica.
yeah.
Right, I'll pick 4 from the Bowl of Rassilon.
From the chase, you know. Dun, 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 dun. It's like unwrapping a Christmas present, isn't it? Really?
Is that 4?
4. The Doctor Who stage plays.
Wow.
Boomtown.
Oh, bye.
David Banks' Cyberman book.
Oh, come on.
I'm just about to make this
Oh, here
very
we go.
hard.
Here comes the smackdown.
Inferno.
Fruitcake.
Oh,
Well-
okay. I'll be honest. I've never seen any of the stage plays, so they really...
Have you heard them on Big Finish? They did the adaptions. Oh,
I've listened
While
to
ago.
2 of the 3, and I do need to listen to the 3rd.
yeah.
Yeah.
They covered it on Too Hot for TV recently, and
Yeah.
I did sort of think because I listened to Curse of the Daleks ages ago. I quite like Curse of the Daleks as a piece of Dalek ephemera. We did it as a main topic on the Doctor Who show last
Yep.
year. It's got its faults, but I quite like it for what it is.
Yeah.
I listened to the Big Finish of The Ultimate Adventure,
Right.
and at the end of that, I just couldn't bring myself to listen to 7 Keys to Doomsday, which is not a reflection on 7 Keys to Doomsday. I just needed a break and never
Yeah.
went back.
Which version of Ultimate Adventure, though, Pertwee or Colin?
On the Big Finish is
Yeah,
the Big Finish.
The Big Finish is Colin because John Pertwee's dead.
Well,
But they're on YouTube. They've actually got. They're on
yeah,
YouTube.
but they have
some-
audios of them, Dave.
Yes,
so
no, they're the Big Finish.
No,
relations,
but
so.
they've got bad quality VHS tapes of
Okay.
recordings of those 2 stage shows if you want to go and have a look at them. But yes,
So let me say, I know a lot of fans that are very big on Boomtown. I think it's appallingly boring.
yes.
I never got into the Slovene. I don't get the whole thing. So
I just don't care. It's gone.
can we ditch Boomtown?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's gone. Yeah, don't care.
The David Banks Cyberman book is a fantastic book. As a kid, I read that again and
Likewise,
again and
yep.
again. It's fantastic. I think it beats the stage plays. If it was just Curse of the Dalek, I might be a bit tempted, but I have no attachment to the others.
No.
I totally agree with you. Doctor Who stage plays, don't really care. That book is still in my top 10 reference books.
But is it better than Inferno?
Which is that's a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Inferno.
Yeah, I can't.
Well, you've played.
Well,
the
I've already,
Joker, so-
we've already saved. If we've already saved, we can't just ditch Inferno because then season 7's pretty much half incomplete. So, I'm sorry, David, this is not excellent. We're going to have to burn it, and keep Inferno. Absolutely. So yeah, Inferno.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Back to you, Mark.
Right, here we go. Okie dokie, picking a porky. Alright, so the first one is Terror of the Zygons, not available on streaming in the UK. All Christopher H. Bidmead stories.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
All Kate Orman's books.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Season 10.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, let me start with the Christopher Hamilton Bidmead stories.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of Legopolis.
Yep.
I'm a
Yep.
very big fan of Frontios.
Yes.
Yes.
Castrovolva is a nice premise that I think is a bit dull.
Bit weak. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's in contention. Kate Orman, look, The Left-Hand Hummingbird was great. I reread Set Piece and it's good, not great.
Right.
I once got into an interstate warfare over my review of Return of the Living Dad, which I was not a fan of as a kid, and I thought I was writing a very insightful and witty piece as a 17-year-old, and I was just writing a turdy 17-year-old bad review, really, which upset a few people in Sydney.
That's a badge of honour, because I had the same thing, so it's,
And then what was it? There was Sleepy,
Sleepy?
Was that one that she did that recovered with Ben?
assisted Ben Aronovich. Yes.
Yes. And certainly Kate Orman's work in the 90s was, I think, regarded along with Paul Cornell's as very much part of that rad direction of Doctor Who and setting a particular tone for Doctor Who in the 90s.
Absolutely.
It was a very, whether you bought into what Kate Orman was doing or not, it was a very distinct, respected body of work.
Yes.
Yeah. True.
But season 10 is faultless.
It is.
Is there a bad season?
No.
Is there a bad story in season 10?
No.
No.
No. Don't you dare say Frontier in Space.
Or Planet of the Daleks.
Or Planet of the Daleks. Don't look at me like
They're
that.
Three Doctors.
Oh, come on.
Where's your soul, man? Where's your soul?
Look, I think the idea of Three Doctors is great. I think some of the execution probably lets Three
it's of its
Doctors
time.
down.
If you took the first, second, and third Doctor out of that and just had it as three different characters,
Yeah.
that story would be a very badly made, poor script.
Yep.
But it is Hartnell, Trout, and Pertwee.
It is.
And it's glorious to watch. So I think
In
there's,
Technicolor.
there's nothing bad in season 10.
No, I love season 10.
But Terror of the Zygons, that would be close to a 10 out of 10 for me as well.
That's a belter, isn't it?
It's
an
belter.
absolute
But it's
belter.
one story as opposed to several or five. So
Okay, let's just make it easy first of all. Sorry, Kate, I think books are burning. We're going to burn the books.
As much as it... Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
I think over televised Doctor Who, yeah.
yep.
Christopher H. Bidmead stories. As much as I love Frontios and I said Legopolis, if you look at the consistency and the quality of these two remaining entries, I'm sorry, Chris, but you're going in the zero cabinet on that one. Entropy has hit you. Season 10, Terror of the Zygons.
I think Terror of the Zygons is better than any individual story in season 10, which are all very good, but I don't think any of them are quite at Terror of the Zygons level. So I'm going to preserve Terror of the Zygons.
Given it's 5 stories, and I think 2 or 3 of them are very good, I'd probably lean towards season 10.
It's with you, Mark.
Do I have the right? I'm going to go season 10 because I think that season... I think that season consistently is excellent Doctor Who. I'd rather have all those stories of John Pertwee in season 10, most consistent season. Terror of the Zygons is brilliant, but however, the Scarrison does let it down slightly, and I'm sorry, and you can't watch it, and you can't watch it anyway. They've taken off iView, whatever it is, iPlayer, so
I'm
it's
sure
gone.
you've still got your DVDs,
Let's
mate.
not talk about that. So
and your piratage from the 90s or whatever. So.
let's move on from that.
Fair
So,
enough. All right,
we've kept
season 10 is saved.
So you could have saved Zygon to the Joker.
I could have, but I chose not to.
Okay.
We are halfway through, Richard. Time for the next round.
We should actually have some background music from Mark of Infinity. Meow 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 meow. That's 40 years old. Like season 22 debuted in the UK 40 years ago in January. And then I think we saw it December. It started December.
Started just after Christmas.
No, it's before Christmas, I'm pretty sure.
Was it?
Oh, well,
It was around Christmas anyway.
We'll check
Because then they went straight into...
the glorious run.
Okay, so for this round, from the Bowl of Rassilon we have, this might be an interesting one if we get rid of them, Doctor Who podcasts. What, all of them?
Okay, press stop.
That's right. If we pick this, the episode just disappears.
The Keeper of Traken, the story.
Oh.
Not the actual keeper.
Yeah, he's dead.
No, well, Ludwig's still around.
Oh, yeah, he's dead.
Both Vinay Petal stories.
Yes.
Oh.
So that's Fugitive of the Jadoon and Demons of the Punjab.
Must have put him straight in the bar. I've never watched them.
I like Demons of the Punjab. I can't honestly say I got much out of
I
the
did watch
Jadoon
that.
one.
Let's find out what the fourth one is first.
Sorry.
And The Censorites, the story. Again, not the...
Oh,
yeah.
that's nice.
Well, we're kind of obliged to keep the podcast, I think, really, aren't we? But,
No, not really, actually. I quite like Keeper of Traken.
I quite like all of those. So I actually think that both Vinay Patel's stories are the two best stories of their respective seasons. And Demons is probably my favourite Jodie Whittaker story. So I think that starts strongly. I'm fond of the Censorites. I think that it does get better as it goes along and more plot elements get in there. And as we've discussed and Mad Larry has written, it is the first time where the Doctor solves...
yes.
It's the first time where the Doctor sticks around and...
Doctor as hero, yes.
And actually solves the mystery because he wants to.
Yes.
There's a point where Ian's been cured, the Censorites have said, you're a great guy, Doctor, you're free to leave. He says, no, I'm going to stay and solve this problem for you.
Yep.
Which is the first time in the show's history that happens, compared to the Keys of Marinus, where Arbitan does the, please, Doctor, help me with my quest, save my planet, and then it just sort of cuts, and then, a real shame we couldn't have Arbitan.
Exactly. Goes, yeah, nah.
By the Censorites, you see the first time the Doctor is the hero.
Yeah,
So
and it's got
that's
a pretty cool episode 1 cliffhanger too of the Censorites just floating out. You know?
Yeah, that's not good.
Oh wow, more punch straight in the bowl then.
Oh, well, okay, Mark has spoken.
No,
There you go.
I'm not
No.
a big fan of the sense Snorites, I call it.
Well,
But
look,
anyway.
I think there is better stuff probably left on the table.
I think that's fair. As underrated as I think the Censorites is, I'm going to say that it's not as good as the others. I'm going to vote for the Vinay Patel stories because I think they're two very good stories from New Hope.
You haven't watched either
Hold
of them,
on,
have you?
remind me what
Demons of the Punjab
Demons of the Punjab.
and Fugitive of the Jadoon.
was that the one where she lost the TARDIS and she goes come back to mummy? Or was that the one? No.
No, Fugitive of the Jadoon.
Is the one where they're running from the Jadoon
Oh no, I've seen that one. I saw that's the one with the
with John Barrowman and the Ruth Doctor.
Oh no, the Reef Doctor. Oh yes, it did. Yes. I did see that one.
And?
That can go in the bowl.
Well, I think Dave wants to save it.
I don't think I saw the was the Punjab episode after Rose.
Right,
a couple
Oh,
of-
I never saw
couple
it.
after
Yeah,
Rose.
okay,
Yes, it was
yeah, but I did see the
later
Judean one.
episode,
But
yeah.
I'm happy. Yeah.
All right, what are you gents going to do?
Well, hold on. What? So Keeper of Traken.
It's a very good story. Looks great.
It's a very good story. Looks great. But what's it really remembered for?
Yes. I was going to say introducing Nissan, no.
The Master
Anthony
coming
Allen.
back. That's it, really, isn't it?
PC Stamp was the milker.
He was too, wasn't he?
He was.
He was, Tony Stamp.
and look, Ludwig's in it, just every sort of second saying, I don't know what's going on.
But could season 18...
Is it
Cope.
the best of season 18, though?
No.
It's close, but season 18's, in my top 3 seasons. I mean, Full Circle, Warriors Gate, Legopolis, State of Decay.
Love State of Decay.
No, you haven't mentioned Meglos.
That's fun.
Look, I enjoy Meglos.
I like Meglos.
It's not a great story, but I enjoy Meglos.
But it's
No, go on.
Yeah.
No, I think there are better stories in season 18 than Traken, so maybe are we happy to ease Traken out of the pot?
I think Traken might have won some other rounds, but it's not winning this one.
No.
Although, to be honest, we haven't talked about Doctor Who podcasts. A curse or a blessing?
Well,
They film my trips to the office.
they do. Some of us have a vested interest in them. You two?
Look,
I don't know.
They are a wonderful way for fandom to connect with each other.
Yes.
And fill the role that I think fan clubs did back when we were young.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I suppose the thing is, if it's all Doctor Who podcasts, you've probably got to take the really good ones, like, Doctor Who Show 42 to Doomsday, with maybe some of the other ones down the other end of the pool, but...
But the thing
What
about,
other ones?
the thing about Doctor Who podcasts,
Well, there are other podcasts.
the thing about Doctor Who podcast is if we've been everything that's been made,
Yep.
another 20 will spring up tomorrow.
Oh,
Oh
absolutely.
God, yeah.
So
yeah,
I think we can survive without them.
Oh,
So
I agree.
I'm going the Vinay Patel stories.
Ooh.
Well, I'm going to go keep her Traken.
Ooh.
We're going to get rid of podcast, so
Oh,
this is the last episode. Kibber Traken and Vinay Patel.
I really liked Demons of the Punjab. I thought that was actually quite good. I clearly didn't get as much as you did out of Fugitive of the Jadoon.
No, fair enough.
Another non-canon Doctor introduced.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with Mark. I'm going to go with
Yeah,
Well,
burn!
I'm going to joke at that.
Oh, he's done it.
So we've now used 2 jokers on
Yes.
new series stories.
What's wrong with
Wow.
us? Right.
Well, that was unexpected.
that was That was.
Must be getting old or something.
Yeah, Dave is. It's terrible. Look at it. Doom, doom, doom. Right,
Age
Dave?
has not mellowed you, has it?
No. Hate
All right.
keeps me alive.
The next 4.
Go for it.
Nissa.
Bye.
Well, didn't we just say Keeper of Traken? So
Oh, yeah. Actually, yes. But
Tomb of the Cybermen.
Ooh.
Series 8 New Who. The Romans.
ooh.
Ooh, that's a very eclectic choice there, Dave, isn't it? Really?
is.
So
I want my Joker back.
Well, given we've just saved the Keeper of Traken, do
By
we,
default.
does that by default? That by default means we at least
So-
keep Nissa for one story.
I'm going to be potentially controversial here.
Ooh,
Oh,
look
God.
out.
And so, whilst I appreciate that Sarah Sutton was a very good actress, and certainly of that bunch of Davo companions, probably the best actor or actress, I never really got anything out of Nissa. As a kid, I found her completely
wet.
Wet.
wet,
Yeah.
well, just unengaging. There was,
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
nothing sort of interesting to relate to.
No.
Yep.
And you know, look, I know that she's not very good at telebiogenesis, but
Or keeping her clothes on either. Yeah.
you know, I know Davo liked her. I know that she's got her fans, but I've just never got anything out of Nissa.
Okay.
I agree. Yeah, a bit wet. And
All
even
right.
when she was holding her gun, she was a bit wet. So, farewell, Nissa. Farewell forever. So, Keeper of Traken, Susan Nadrick, and Tom Story.
Okay.
Well,
And Anthony Ainley.
Right.
Tim the Simon is a classic.
It's a classic, and it really invigorated the show when it was DEDD dead.
It did. The
it
Finding of Tomb, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It did really give
Yeah.
the Wilderness Years sort of a
A boost.
boot up the arse. Yeah,
And,
it did.
and despite what people have now sort of, reappraised it and said it's this and that and everything like that, I can still put it on and thoroughly enjoy it. And
Yeah.
also, it's also that thing of, we weren't there and to watch it the first time round, but just remembering the
His
excitement.
dad
of,
was.
Oh,
He
actually, he saw it twice, didn't he?
He saw it twice.
He's
yes.
he's a bit greedy, isn't he?
Yeah, saw it in the UK, got on
Yeah.
a plane to Australia and saw it out here.
And he didn't tape it. Anyway,
And for all this sort of narrative about, when it was found, it was revised, it has been consistently in the top 10 of DWM polls from before it was found, when it was found, after it was found.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, I think growing up with the legend of Tomb, and it was, the story that would cure cancer and if it was ever found would blow everybody away. Look, it wasn't that when it was found, but it is still pretty good.
it was one of the 3 Troutons that survived the time, so it
well,
was
that's
very
exactly
lucky.
right. So
You know what I
we
mean?
are very lucky. So
Yeah.
Look, the Romans, I really enjoy the Romans. I think it's a very witty script. It's one of Hartnell's best performances.
Yeah.
He is clearly having a lot of fun there.
Yep.
His comic timing comes through.
Again,
It's
yeah.
one of those ones that, particularly as a boy, you watch and just go, I now want to go to the library and get the boys' book of Roman history.
Yep.
And just really, really engage you. So I've got a lot of time for the Romans. It's probably not as good as Tomb.
And it's not Gladiator, is it?
Ian and on the Lion. That's probably not really Gladiator.
Gladiator. Have you seen Gladiator? Oh, anyway. Yeah.
Now, Series 8 of New Who, I probably overall quite like it. There's a run in there of stuff like Listen, Time Heist, and a bunch of Robot of S.H.I.E.L.D. I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
There was that run sort of in the early middle of it that I thought was really, really good.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of the first couple. I think Deep Breath's really just a Matt Smith story, sort of, with Capaldi over the top of it.
Yeah.
Into the Dalek, where the Doctor's
That
just
wasn't
a
very
prick.
good.
Oh, yes. No,
Yeah,
I
that
don't.
wasn't very nice.
And it ends with Death in Heaven, which I've just said earlier was
Yeah,
my least favourite story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the middle bit is actually
That middle
quite
bit's
good.
really, like that, there were 4 or 5 episodes in a row. I was gone. Yeah, Peter Capaldi's here, and I really like him, and set it up to be one of my 2 favourite New Who Doctors.
Okay.
What's that one with the TARDIS shrank? What was that one? Flatline.
Flatline.
That was quite good too. Yeah, there's actually some good stories in that season.
Yeah, there's
yeah.
5 really good ones.
Yeah, and Capaldi is
Yeah,
my
but-
favourite Doctor of the new
I
series.
think I think Capaldi got better as he went on. So
I think Series 10 is better.
yes.
Yeah.
Series 9 is very variable.
I
Oh, yeah,
can't
it's
remember if
just-
I watched all the series 9.
That was the one with all the 2-parters. I
Yeah.
mean, mine Clara died, so that was a plus.
No, I must have watched some of them because I watched Face the Raven, and then I watched the one where he was punching the wall for like 20 million years.
Oh, Hellbent?
Hellbent. No. Heaven Sent.
Heaven Sent's good. Hellbent
Yeah.
was terrible
The
too.
one where he's hellbent on getting through the wall is Heaven
Yes.
Sent,
Yeah.
and the
Yes.
one where he's Heaven Sent to Gallifrey is Hellbent.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a good. Yeah.
Just to make it confusing.
Yes. Look,
yeah.
there's some very. Yeah, look, I think Series 10 is better. I think Series 8 is better than Series 9, but
It's not Tomb.
it's not Tomb, and
No.
Tomb is a proper classic. You know,
It
that-
is.
Depending on the time of day, I would rate Tomb or Evil of the Daleks as my favourite.
Yep.
Those two kind of go back and forth in my mind.
And your mood, obviously.
Yes.
Clearly. All right,
Yeah,
so
I'm
we
happy to
Tomb?
keep Tomb as
Yep.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I think having gone against Grain and saved a couple of New Who stories,
Yes.
we now
think
need to go with typecasting and
Yep.
Yeah.
save Tomb.
And the Alistair Pearson cover for that video is
Yep.
still fantastic.
It's
to this
fantastic.
day, and
It
yeah, it
is.
was great. Yeah,
All right, so there's what, 2 rounds left?
Two
yeah, I
rounds
think
left.
so. So
And one Joker left.
One
for Joker.
Joker.
that's not very nice thing to call me. Anyway, so I've got one,
He's
2.
playing the Joker.
I'm a joker. I'm a smoker.
All right, so I've just pulled out the 4 tickets now, or the 4 subjects. So the first one is all Christmas specials.
Goodbye.
Well, you know which one I'm going to go for on that one. Mike Yates.
Ooh.
He's a big James Bond fan.
Oh.
And Kinder. It's a Kinder Magic.
Well,
I haven't finished yet.
None of them are sort of leaping out at me.
Oh,
Oh.
you were really in a foul mood yesterday. Blu-ray collection sets.
All right, well, I think it might be that last one. But
Yeah. Well, you can't have that one in there anyway, but let's go through the process.
Are there any Christmas specials that you have a moment of regret for? I will say at least the Feast of Stephen. I'll say the Christmas Invasion.
Carol. No,
The first half of the Next Doctor.
I actually would only keep the Christmas Carol. I think the rest are
I
disposable.
think they're all pretty disposable.
Yeah, they are
but,
actually. Yeah, Feast of Stephen
Feast of Stephen.
doesn't add anything.
Well, it doesn't exist
I mean,
anyway.
that's the
So
thing.
what
They sold it to Australia in 3 episodes because it did nothing, and they lost it.
is Kate and Company can to say?
Hey, actually, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Not that that would probably be enough to save it, but I'm just
No.
just so we're setting the parameters of what we're
An
throwing.
interesting little point of law.
Yes.
I think the only Christmas special I really have watched twice is the Christmas Carol. The wardrobe one was absolutely appalling.
Yes.
And yeah,
I quite enjoyed Mysterio, Return of Dr. Mysterio. I thought that was fun. I can say that The Husbands of Riversong is the only episode of Doctor Who I've seen go out live in the UK.
There you
yes,
go.
that's right.
Was that enough to save it?
No.
No. Yeah. So can I consign this to the
I
Pamela
think- I
Nash
think you can.
furnace
Pamela Nash, that one
memorial
for us.
furnace?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, Mike Yates, I will defend in that he's got a very rare for Classic Who actual story arc.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
Green Death, Invasion of the Dinosaurs, Planet of the Spiders arc is actually a really well done character arc. And Andrew Franklin's quite good in that. He's disposable in some other stories, but I think when they actually work out what to do with Yates, he's quite an interesting character.
But if it wasn't in any of them, would it make a difference?
Well,
Apart from Invasion of the Dinosaurs,
Invasion of the Dinosaurs
obviously.
is the big one.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could have Benton turn traitor. Actually, that'd be more interesting. The man who idolised the Doctor.
Benton's probably a little bit too sort of trusting of the Doctor and clean cut, though, I think.
But wouldn't that make it more interesting?
I think it
Like
makes it less
McGann
believable.
doing the Time War.
I
That
think
would be
it's
more
less
interesting,
believable.
Stephen.
Yeah.
And the redemption he gets in Planet of the Spiders is good.
Yeah.
So I like that arc.
Yeah.
Kinder is a very good story. Is it my favourite Davo? No.
No.
There are better Davos, but it's a good Davo.
And the Blu-ray
It's got
collection.
It's got 3 classic cliffhangers.
It has actually, yeah.
3
Yeah.
brilliant cliffhangers.
So
Yeah.
I guess if we're keeping the Blu-ray collection set, so they don't have some holes in them, considering some of the stories.
Well, the Troughton and Hartwell ones will anyway.
So let me put this to you: if the Blu-ray collection sets didn't exist, we'd all just still have the DVDs, and would we be that worse off?
True.
I mean, they're
True.
nice. They're nice to have. They've
Yeah.
got some nice docos, but we've still got the VHSs and the DVDs. And the
So
Target
we've
novels.
been happy to sit through the ordinary edition of the Happiness Patrol for the last G&T, or
Yes.
Yeah, it would have been. It would have been fun, actually, when you put it like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, really, they are a wonderful addition to what was released before. And
They're a nice bonus.
Yeah.
They're lovely, but they're an awesome bonus. We're very lucky as fans to have it.
Yeah.
But we could live without them.
Yeah, I agree, actually, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's Mike Yates or
Kinder.
it's Kinder Magic.
I'm going to vote for Mike Yates. Probably nostalgia's playing a party. I mean, we've said a couple of times now, we all
Yeah.
grew up on endless repeats of the Pertwee years.
Yep.
Mike Yates was a big part of that, and particularly those later stories. He did stand out. So I'm going to stick with Mike Yates, but I'm not missing my Joker on this occasion.
No, look, I'd be comfortable with that.
I'd be comfortable with Mike Yates, so...
Okay.
There you go. Kinder is out.
Yeah.
All right, well, this is the
There you
last
go.
round, so really I'm just going to throw the Joker at something. So,
Was it worthy?
I don't know, I hope to God there's something in there worth saving. Otherwise I'm going to have to go dive in the furnace.
Well, if you don't use your Joker, maybe you can use it on these.
All right, well, here we go.
All right.
The Ood. Bloody hell.
I might as well put it straight in the bowl then.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. Flux.
Can any... This is a very easy round
I'm
so
sorry,
far.
guys. I should have played my Joker long
Yes,
before
please
then.
do it, yes.
Oh, the Fourth Doctor.
Oh, well, we know which one's got to be kept, don't we?
Well, it depends. It depends what this last one is on this last piece of paper. No, I think it's the Fourth Doctor. It's Pip and Jane Baker.
Oh, no.
Well, look, they did save the day when, trial sort of went rapidly pear-shaped.
Well, they
Yes.
did write something, yes.
Yes. And,
And
look,
handed it in.
They saved the day when season 24 had to be made at the last moment.
Yeah, and
Yes.
Not very well, but they
Yes,
did.
well,
they did turn in the script on time, on budget.
they did have a reputation for being able to put out usable scripts in a quick turnaround.
And
So,
Narani is a memorable character, but is that due to the writing or more the casting?
Oh, the writing.
Yeah, I actually think people have been very unkind to them,
yes.
in their contribution to the show.
And I've always admired the thing that you see in the interviews where they talk about the fact they genuinely believed in that educational remit of the show,
Yeah.
Yep.
and that they should use words that and concepts and ideas that kids would turn to their parents or turn to their teachers and go, "What's that mean? What's this?"
A megabyte modem.
Or was it the spurious morality?
That's not the best example.
No,
and
but
look,
there's some- yeah.
some of it is absolutely
I'm
overreaching.
joking.
Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're Dickens, but
Hmm.
I think their hearts were definitely in the right
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
And they did deliver some stuff. Look, none of their stories are particular favourites of mine.
No.
Terror of the Verwood is my favourite Collins story, but that's in an era that I'm not a particular fan of.
Yeah, exactly. It's the
Tom
yeah.
the Rani I'm not a fan of. Mark the Rani.
No.
Mark the Rani was one of the few VHSs I didn't even bother buying because I just had no interest in the
Yep.
story.
Really? Okay.
So I'm not voting for Pip and Jane Baker. The Ood, I think, are in one very good story and one okay story. And I do remember that at the time when the Satan bit came out, there was that sort of, oh, well, this is an interesting design, they're a bit menacing. When the Ood go bad, they're actually quite
Scary, yeah.
They're quite scary.
Yeah.
So they're great, but they're disposable.
Yeah.
Flux has got 2 pretty good episodes, 2 okay episodes, and 2 utterly rubbish episodes. And that's been generous.
I only watched the first 2, and I thought one of them was better than the other. But look, I have to say I wasn't inspired to go and watch the rest of it. So,
Even I watched Flux.
Look, the
It was
Sontaran,
all of it.
Yeah. What's wrong with me?
the
Wow.
Sontaran one was good.
Yeah,
That
that was
was-
alright.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
and the
yes.
Angels.
The Angels one was good. There was a middle one that sort of had the stuff with those 2, the purple and the blue aliens, which was okay. Then there were a couple of very dull ones in there.
And that Eve of the Daleks was awful. Was that the end of it, wasn't it?
No, the end of it was the one where half the universe is wiped out. And,
Oh, I never understood what was going on.
yeah, the end was a mess. The end was a complete mess.
You're not actually inspiring me to go and watch the rest of it.
No. But
Look,
I mean,
look,
no.
I'm very grateful to you that you've helped to talk out around where I think it was very obvious from the moment they were drawn we were saving the Fourth Doctor.
I think we should stop the conversation. Go.
I
Tom's
think,
going.
I
He's
think
going.
the only decision here is, does Richard cast his vote for the Ood, Flux, or just let the Joker go?
Yeah,
Or Pip and
well, I
Jane
was going to say,
Baker.
can I It sound like Armageddon Factor. I'm just going crawling down the conveyor belt to try and get something else off there.
You could say Pip and Jane Baker,
I could say Pip and Jane Baker.
but you're not.
I'd really rather actually, as I said, go back through the discard pile and pick something. Well, I'm not going to save the flux or the ood. So if look, so I don't walk out with my Joker. I suppose. Look, I guess I'm going to have to save Pip and Jane Baker, aren't I?
Oh, wow.
So
Well, other than that, or I just
we've all done strange things tonight, haven't we?
Put the Joker back on the shelf for next time or something.
Yes.
Well, no, you've obviously you haven't used your Joker wisely. You've saved Pip and Jane Baker.
So that is perhaps not the most expected collection of stories and
No.
items we have saved.
No, I probably was a little bit too,
You held off towards the
I
end.
did. I was sort of holding on because I thought, oh, look, there'll be something we really want to save and we're not going to be able to. But that last round, that was...
That was certainly the dregs.
Well, you know what they say, Richard? This is the game of Rassilon.
Exactly. Yes.
To lose is to win,
And
he who wins shall lose.
Dave's got his little cap on and go, farewell.
Thank you very much for that, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Listeners, I hope you found that enjoyable.
We did.
Speaking of listeners, we'll now move to our listener messages.
Yes.
Mark, would you like to start us off with Peter Thompson?
Yes, Peter Thompson via YouTube on our best use of time episode of The List Makers. I would also add Under the Lake / Before the Flood. I also find A Christmas Carol is one of the best Christmas specials. Agree. It's very
It's in the furnace now, sorry.
No, sorry, Beer, sorry. Enjoy it while you can, sir. It's very whimsical, but I also feel it has the right balance, so it isn't too cheesy. I agree with that one.
Our next correspondence is from Martin Wells via the Podbean app, and it's about the colour version of the War Games. I really like the colour War Games. I hadn't seen it before and I had no preconceptions. It looked amazing. It was also good to see the full regeneration into the Third Doctor.
Now, have you watched it?
I have.
You watched it?
No.
I haven't watched it either.
Okay.
As I said last month, there are people out there who absolutely love that and are going to approach the story or see the story in a new way, and that's fantastic. It's not for me. As I described it last time, it's by trying to introduce people to the Beatles with a Taylor Swift cover.
Look, you could say, look, it's removed some of the padding because I think, look, there is no way you could watch the War Games, I don't think, in a really short space of time. Look, every time I've watched it, I've usually watched maybe one episode a day over about a week and a bit.
I was going to say 2 years.
I have done the watch in one day, but I was, young at the time.
Wow. So, look, it was interesting. I think the recolour job, technically, looked really, really impressive.
Yeah.
I have to say, it was really, really well done. The regeneration stuff into the Third Doctor, look, that was kind of cheesy, to be honest.
Well, that was originally a fan thing. A fan did that years ago, and
Yeah.
then they basically just taken bits of that and whacked on their guts.
Yeah, as I said, I just think that was a bit cheesy. One thing I will say, though, for all the people complaining that the War Chief is the Master, you're about 40 years too late. For those who remember the Fusser role-playing game from the mid-1980s, the Master supplement in that actually has not only the War Chief, but the meddling Mug as being early incarnations of the Master. Oh, no, and it gets better, Mark, just before you open your mouth and shout fanwank at me. In that supplement, and you can look it up, I think it's actually online somewhere as a PDF, the Master also has a base called Merast, which sits in between universes and is crewed by Ogrons that he stole from the Daleks.
Well, there you go.
Fanwank. The only thing I saw about that was, yes, the very subtle as a sledgehammer hitting somebody on their head, that the War Chief is the Master, especially with the music of the Master theme from the Near series. Look, Terrence Dix said it wasn't the same character. I thought it was a load of absolute rubbish, and the only reason they delayed putting that episode out after the 42 to Doomsday Christmas Party, because I knew that would have been my number one fan wank of the year, and it's still in the running. It's still in the running.
But Martin enjoyed it, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
Good on you, Martin. Well done, son. Glad you enjoyed it, yes.
Our next listener comment is an email from Chris Marsh on our Joy to the World hot take. Hi, Rob. Happy New Year to you and Dave. Joy to the World. I actually nodded off twice while watching this. One thing I will say, Shooty actually had some decent screen time, and I feel we finally got to know him a bit. Sadly, I feel he may have been miscast. He feels like one of your mad, charismatic friends, not somebody who's ancient and wise and in front of events. Too reactionary and animated in my humble view. Moffat had a good idea with the Time Hotel, but the direction of the show and single-episode compressed storytelling just shorthands the ideas and requires ill-considered resolutions. I found this episode supremely dull and uninteresting. It had a soap opera feel and just more fantastical nonsense that really didn't make any sense. The show, and I've come to this realisation some time ago, really isn't made for the likes of me. The next season will probably be the first I won't bother to watch. Sad, really. Hope others get something out of it. All the best, Chris Marsh. P.S. Actually, one more thought. Do Christmas specials devalue Doctor Who? I think they probably do a bit. I think that's a good point from Chris.
Yeah.
Look, I enjoyed Joy to the World more than Chris, but I must admit, since the hot take, the more I've let it sort of sit on the palate, the more things have probably come to annoy me about it.
Yeah, have you watched it, Mark?
I did watch a Christmas special. Wallace and Gromit and Outnumbered were excellent.
So,
Fair
no.
No.
I did watch it. Look, it was okay for what it was, but look, it's probably not something I'm ever going to go back and rewatch.
Look, for slightly tipsy on a dark Christmas afternoon, I'm sure it was fine.
Yeah, likewise.
For Boxing Day here, it was a bit whatever. But
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Hercules Flexing via YouTube also comments on Joy to the World, and he says, hello lads, love your discussion as always. I wish I had enjoyed this episode, but I really didn't care for the ending, and the lead up to it was mediocre at best. My favourite part is the idea of using the Orient Express to open the crypt. Very clever use of a clever location. However, I thought the COVID plot and the Bethlehem parts were very inappropriate. Many people, myself included, lost loved ones at that time and couldn't see them. So we have a plot where a sick character is magically reunited with her daughter to become a star over Bethlehem came across as insensitive. I don't have an issue with talking about COVID or using it in the plot. It's the tone deafness of the resolution that bothered me. Worse than that Imagine video from 2020. As for the Bethlehem bit in particular, it rubbed me up the wrong way. Suddenly to pull the focus of what the true meaning of Christmas is about, when they are injecting their own fiction into the story. Now, not trying to be annoying here, but as a devout Christian, it seemed a little insensitive. I know it's just a show, but I don't think that this was thought through. Villengard accidentally created the Star of David. The star itself is a girl who had nothing to live for and was pushed to end her life. It just seems in poor taste to me. I could keep rambling here, but for now I'll stop. Look forward to more of your stuff. All the best. Thank you, Hercules.
Yeah, that's some really good thoughts there. And let me say, I've seen those views echoed in other parts of fandom.
Yeah.
Some people agree, some people disagree.
Yep.
But yeah, look, I think that's a really fair take. And,
Yep.
and yeah, thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah.
Our next one comes from Sammy Satine via email, rounding out our comments on Joy to the World. Dear Rob and Dave, hope you guys are well and having a good day. I'm listening to your hot take on Joy to the World. I've only watched it once. I think I might need to watch it again. I liked it. I particularly liked the Anita stuff. Steph de Wally deserves a round of applause. She was great. Can we have her back, please? I like Nicola Coughlan and know her as Penelope Featherington in Bridgerton. I think she does a marvellous job at playing that character. Joy, though, was just okay. She's not Astrid Peth, who also turned into Stardust, sacrificing herself in Voyage of the Damned. That's true, actually. My first Doctor Who story and favourite Christmas special.
There you go.
I did, though, sympathise with her sadness at losing her mum and her righteous anger at the Tories. If I was a Brit, I'd have been furious too. You haven't met Dan Andrews.
Yes.
Do you notice Joy's mum was in Royal Hope Hospital where Martha worked?
No, I didn't.
Actually. No, very good.
pickup.
Well spotted. Incidentally, Russell, please bring back Martha.
Yes.
Yes, please.
I liked the idea of the Time Hotel. I thought it was cool. That Kiwi accent sounded off to me, too. I thought the Silurian was nice to see again. The guy who played him plays a policeman called Anderson in the Sherlock TV series. Okay. I'm almost surprised the Doctor didn't mention Gus the computer from Mummy on the Orient Express when he was on the Orient Express, or make some reference to it. He didn't even acknowledge the Agatha Christie book she was reading. He could have said something like, I met her. Lovely woman. I watched the Season 2 trailer. It looks cool. We shall see. At the moment, I'm interested in why the cartoon is coming out of the screen and what is that alien planet. Is it like King Hydroflax's planet? It looks a bit like it. Could it also be Gallifrey or Skaro or something? Maybe it's a new place. I don't know. Shooty's got a few new outfits. I bet character options are happy. Probably not, actually, because they're really hard to do. However, more new variant figures to make. I know someone who'll be hard at work on those.
Definitely.
Anyway, getting back to the letter. Anyway, thanks for so many awesome episodes of the podcast this year, and I look forward to many more to come. Much love, Sammy Satine.
Some very good thoughts there from Sammy, and three very different takes on Joy to the World, which I think is reflective of fandom. It's been not a divisive one. I think most people haven't been sort of, knives drawn at 10 paces sort of thing, but there's been some very varied views on it.
It just sounds like it's just there. And that's a shame.
Look, it's a Christmas special. It's just
It is.
Just don't do them anymore.
It was better than last year's.
the church on
The Ruby Road, yes.
Yes, it was better than the church on Ruby Road.
Never watched it.
Don't bother.
You didn't miss much.
Thanks.
Thank you again to everybody who has written in. But now something a bit rare for us. We have a piece of audio feedback from somebody who listened to our monthly episode on an adventure in space and time and was involved. So, cue the clip.
Hi guys, Happy New Year to you both. I've just been enjoying listening to your I'm currently listening to it, I haven't finished it yet, the one about adventure in space and time. A couple of memories actually from this. I'm an actor and I got to work on an adventure in space and time off for a day. Apparently I looked a bit like I looked like the director Chris Barry, how he looked in the 60s, so they cast me for a day on that. I got to spend the day working alongside Jean Marsh, Annika Wills. I think William Russell was there, I can't quite remember, but there was a few others there, and of course all the actors that were in it and the show. I met Mark Gatiss because we both share, not at the same time, an ex-partner from many, many years ago. So we were having a little chat about this guy on the TARDIS set. It was all quite surreal, really. Very exciting to be on that set. That was amazing. Yeah, he was a lovely guy. He kind of whispered to me, "You're a fan, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, can't hide it." But yeah, it was a good day all in all. I mean, I didn't want paying, but obviously I did get paid. But it was like I would have done it for nothing. Being on the set, I was in the scene where Verity Lambert's leaving, her party scene, so on Vortis, and I was also in the TARDIS scene. But yes, I got chopped. You can see me, I'm in there. As with these things, with timing and stuff, having worked in the business for a long time, I know sometimes things do end up on the cutting room floor. I'd love to see some outtakes because I'm hoping I'd be in there. But anyway, that's my memory of Adventure in Space and Time. And also, you were chatting about the Happiness Patrol. I went to the studio in 1988. My cousin was going out with a lady who worked at the BBC at the time. So we got a day on the set of the Happiness Patrol, and that was very eye-opening. I mean, I was 17. I was so into Doctor Who, even at that point when the show was waning a little bit. There I was on the set of the Happiness Patrol, and it was really shoddy and a mess and very small and just jumbled. I was like astounded. I think it was my first time on the TV set. So I was just amazed and astounded at how jumbled it all was, and how much... how relaxed it all was as well. Sylvester and Sophie were very kind of having a laugh and joking around, but you know, they got the results done. And I got to meet Sophie that day, and Sylvester, and I think Priscilla P was there as well. So yeah, it was a magical day. It was very hot. I think they shot that in the summer of '88, so it was quite hot over here in England for a change. So yeah, just a couple of memories there. Loving the show. You are my favourite podcast of Doctor Who. It's brilliant. I love it. I'm still listening to lots of your older episodes too. But anyway, keep up the good work, guys. And yeah, have a good new year. And yeah, I shall keep listening. Take it easy. See you later.
Thank you very much to Stuart James Barham for sending that in. A very unique and personal perspective of an adventure in space and time.
Absolutely. And I know you and Rob talked about that particular show in your last episode, but Richard, when did you see it and what did you think of it?
Oh, look, I really enjoyed it. I haven't watched it for a while.
Yeah.
I saw it, I don't remember watching it on TV here, so I would have acquired a copy. Yeah, I must admit, I think it's a great production. Mm. And what about you, Mark? Because I guess that's where this is leading, so...
Well, thank you very much for that very, very nice segue there. Yeah, look, I was lucky to watch it in the UK live, because I was there at the time. I was there for the XL
you went
convention.
For the
I did. So
yep.
I watched it on the night, I think it was on BBC 4, I think it was, and watched it in the front room of my auntie and uncle's cottage in Wales, and watched it there. It was lovely. And the next day went down to the Doctor Who Experience in Cardiff. They had obviously a day there, but as part of that night entertainment was to watch that special in the exhibition right next to the first Doctor replica set, which you could actually go around and...
I was going to say, were you allowed in there to touch it? Yeah. You were. Excellent.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's beautiful, beautiful set. And the main thing was watching it was they turned the heaters off, and in the UK in November, in this vast sort of warehouse type environment, a little bit chilly. But yeah, that's where we saw it, and yeah, it was a really good production. I do remember as part of the 30th anniversary celebrations in '93, they were talking about Kevin John Davis was trying to get something similar to go about the history of Doctor Who with Pete Postlethwaite as the first Doctor. But it never got off the ground.
Been an interesting casting.
Yeah. So maybe the seeds of that production, what was going to happen, fed into this. But it is very good. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the JNT one in 10 years' time.
Let's make magic. They've got to call it that.
So thank you to everybody who wrote or sent in audio feedback. Very quickly before we finish, we will do a quick round of what have we been watching. Having watched a lot of new television last month, this month I've been watching old television. I have officially started my Blu-ray journey of Babylon 5.
Oh, yes.
I'm just up to Believers, so working my way through. And quite enjoying Season 1. I think some of the faults of those early Season 1s are still very evident.
Yep.
But you can see the direction it's going in, and I know there's better to come.
So have they done much with the Blu-rays in terms of upscaling image or correcting?
It's definitely a lot clearer and sharper, particularly some of the CGI stuff. So, some of it still looks dated, but there's some nice cleaned up and sharpened images and some of the effects there. So it's quite nice, but I'm enjoying that great journey at the moment. And I discovered whilst watching the cricket that there was an ad for Roswell on 7+. So I've been going back and watching some of the early episodes of Roswell from the 90s, which I must admit I was a very big fan of when it came out. I would have been at uni at the time, and it was really good. And I did go and visit the Roswell UFO Museum when I went to the America the first time.
That would have been pretty touristy, I would have thought, would it?
It's an interesting town. It's an interesting town, like, when the main industry is UFO spotters.
Yeah.
Hello!
It's interesting. So, look, I've been watching those and enjoying it. Mark, have you been watching anything?
Yeah, I've been watching quite a few things, actually. It's been... I watched Apocalypse Now with my son. He just turned 18. He wants to watch all these films, so we watched Apocalypse Now. He loved it. Except, when obviously Marlon Brando is having his big speech at the end. It was pretty much next day, I was, Dad, what was all that about? But it was a great film.
It's a weird ending.
It is very weird ending, and I was trying to explain it, and I said, just look at Wikipedia, like you did with the Moffat script. So I did that. Then he wanted to watch The Thing by John Carpenter, which still holds up really, really well.
I watched that a few years ago.
Yeah,
that is still pretty good.
It's still pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
And and obviously, practical effects and everything like that. And I always thought I said to my son who's watching these things, watched Alien as well, you got to remember the effects are of their time.
Yep.
But he goes, I actually prefer this stuff than the CGI fests that are there now. So we're sort of dipping into sort of back catalogue films there. Watched Black Doves on Netflix. That was all right. Bit of a spy thing. Slow Horses. That's excellent. It's a spy show with Gary Oldman in it. That's really
I
good.
Season 1 and wasn't that inspired by it.
Yeah, keep going. It's really good. Really, really good.
Okay.
Just finished the latest series of Only Murders in the Building. Quite enjoyed that.
Oh, yeah.
And we just started season 2 of The Rig. You ever see The Rig? It's a show on Amazon. It starts off as obviously on an oil rig, and then something happens underwatery. So
Scarrison.
It's slightly better than the Scarrison, but look, we had 2 weeks off over Christmas and just thoroughly enjoyed watching some films new and old. I'm playing a bit of vinyl as well, so it was good. It was good fun.
Well, good.
Richard.
Well, I was going to say, I've watched a fair bit of the cricket over the last little bit.
Yes.
Yes.
Very good tests.
Yes, they were. They were actually very good tests.
I actually got to interview one for a day.
Which one did you go? To Boxing Day? Or no?
I didn't go on Boxing Day itself, I went on day 2.
Yeah.
Right.
So I got to see Smith get his 100.
And
I got to see Coley run his mate out. So I had a good day.
How good would that have been? In terms of TV shows, I've recently finished a rewatch, and this is about probably the 3rd or 4th time I watched it, Mr. In Between.
Oh, yes, it's a brilliant show.
Yeah, it is. That is a great show.
It's fantastic.
It's an Australian crime show. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dave's expression is saying what's all that about.
If you like Chopper, you'll get a lot out of Mr. In Between.
It's really well done.
It is. It is a great series. I wish they'd do more. I know Scott Ryan's sick of it. But have you seen the original movie?
No, I've never seen the original movie. No. What's it called?
The Magician.
The Magician. Okay, right.
It's like made 10 years or more before the TV show. It's like early 2000s.
It's a prequel.
I've been slowly working through the Blake 7 Blu-ray set.
Yes, I need to do that.
Yes.
Haven't you watched them yet?
No.
Any of them?
No.
Oh my goodness. Bad fan. I have been watching them with the new special effects.
Yeah.
I will say they're not actually as obtrusive as I was fearing.
Or some of the Doctor Who ones?
Well, they are quite muted. Like, if you look at some of the early episodes, look, I haven't been through the whole set yet, so maybe it gets worse later on.
Yeah.
But they've replaced a lot of the space shots are now CGI.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff like the models lifting off and touching down, like in at the start end of the way back where the London takes off.
Yeah.
Which is sad because actually feeding back into your thing about the practical effects, there is a realness to the models that you don't get.
there is.
Unfortunately, the CGI stuff, I find it just looks too clean. Is probably the thing.
Especially for something like 7.
Yes. You know, and look, they're great models. I was very disappointed. I watched Spacefall, and unfortunately, that very first hero shot you get of the Liberator is now a CGI shot.
Oh, no.
And I was just like, look, it's a good CGI shot, but it's just like, no, I remember just that first thing where they get the scanners back on the ship and it comes up and you just get that and it's like, oh, look at that spaceship. They've actually redone the title sequence slightly. Yes, it's not major, it's just a bit where you have the very obviously paper model of the Liberator coming towards the camera. That's now a CGI thing. And I have to say, actually, that one probably is an improvement. Because look, the Liberator is very obviously a paper cutout. Yeah, so I've really been enjoying those. Yeah, other than that, I've did a bit of a drift through of old police series called New Scotland Yard.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, with John Woodvine and John Carlyle as the two. Oh, that's like mid-70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually really enjoying that. A lot of famous faces in there.
Yeah.
If you watch any Doctor Who or really any British TV show, there's a heap of faces you'll recognise in there as they go through the episodes. But, yeah.
Actually, one more thing, sorry. Ludwig with David Mitchell and... what's his name?
Is that...
Anna Maxwell Martin, yeah. Very good.
Yeah?
Very good, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very good. Detective show.
I was going to say, sort of looks like quirky
it's
cop
very
show.
quirky, yeah.
There's a lot of ads for it on 7 Plus.
Watch that. I recommend that as well. Bit of fun.
There you go, some watching recommendations. So thank you, gents, for coming and doing the podcast of Decision.
Pleasure, thank you.
Our next episode is going to be a deep dive into a story, and we have some nominations for listeners to vote for. Now, I will say the last one we did was The Crusade.
Right.
The last time we did a deep dive into a single story, and it was actually really quite nice to hear the number of listeners who wrote back to us in various different forms and said they had never seen The Crusade before, and because it's missing or it's an historical, they didn't know about it, they skipped over it in the box set.
Oh.
And because we talked about it, they watched it and really enjoyed it. So that was
good stuff.
That was really nice. But Rob and I decided we'd have no parameters or guidance as to what we would nominate for this one. We'll just do something meaty to discuss. Okay. So Rob's gone for 2 New Who stories to nominate for listeners to vote for, both of which I think could inspire some interesting discussions. The first is Vincent and the Doctor, and the second is Mummy on the Orient Express.
That's not bad.
I decided that as we've got a little while to watch these and we were doing something meaty, I would go for 2 6-parters, which I am a big fans of and I think have a lot to discuss. I was initially going to nominate The Chase, then realised we did a Hartnell last time, so pulled myself away from the Hartnell. Look, I'm nominating Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
I know what you're going to say on that.
And The Seeds of Doom.
Yeah?
So remember, listeners, it's not about which one you think is the best story, but which one you think will be the most interesting discussion. Vincent and the Doctor, Mummy on the Orient Express, Invasion of the Dinosaurs, and The Seeds of Doom. But that's our next monthly episode in February. We have our list makers coming up for February as well, which is our top 5 funny stories, which we need to put together. But thank you, gents, for coming along. I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
We have. Thank you for having us.
I hope listeners have enjoyed yourself. Hopefully you guys will be around at some point for the next Gin and TARDIS, which is a set of Davo stories.
It is?
Yes, it is.
We'll be doing the King's Demons and the Awakening when we can find a time in all our diaries.
I think we'll be needing something stronger than gin, but yes, we'll be going through those.
But until then, I've been Dave.
I've been Mark.
I'm Richard.
And we'll speak again soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
You've been listening to
The Doctor Who Show with Rob and Dave.
Find us online by searching for
The Doctor Who Show.
We also love it when you write in. Drop us a line anytime at hello@thedwshow.net.
Keep